Cool, so this is the Bigme B1051C, and that's how he makes great videos. He's just released his drawing review of the Note F4C. Asked, what's the meaning of that naming convention? And I guess the 10 refers to the size. I have no idea why they felt they need a 5.1 afterwards, but there we are. Well, this is what we have right now from Bigme. I've just recorded the members testing footage. I've found immediately I was finding it quite jagged over one side of the screen. This left side of the screen seems to be more jagged than the right hand side. I don't know whether that's in the case only, but if you look, you see that those straight lines, they're not as straight as they are on the right hand side. So I was really surprised by that. I don't know why that is. I was thinking, is that the magnets in the case? But I honestly don't think so. I think it's just the way the pen is sampling. That one was really wobbly there. The case is quite good, incidentally, apart from the flap. It locks in quite nicely. But it did surprise me immediately. I was like, oh, this is not as satisfactory an experience of writing as I've been used to on the Boox, and nor is it the experience that I've been enjoying on Bigme before either. I found that all my documents were actually in the cloud, and they're all there, all the things that I've done on Bigme before. I was like, I had been like, where have they gone? You actually need to manually upload and sync them though. I did wonder why they have the magnetic clasp, but actually this area, if you have that clasp on, you find that that area doesn't work. You can't write in that area there, but now you can. So I see why they've made the loop detachable there as well. The handwriting tools are very poor. The brush and everything and the pencil, they don't seem anywhere near as good as their rivals. They just, I mean, they do this, you know, the lines don't tape at the end, you get blotched. That's the brush. The ballpoint looks hardly any different to the pen. They're not as desirable to use as Remarkable or anything else really. It's just the handwriting tools are just definitely lacking. They're not giving you that kind of really lovely feel of handwriting. And yeah, Carta, is it a glass screen? I mean, I think it is glass. I think it will be a canvas screen rather than the Mobius, but it is quite soft to the touch. It's definitely got a top layer which is quite soft, so it doesn't make a huge tappy noise, if that's what you're worried about. It feels okay, but it's not textured like paper as well. The pen, at least they've left behind their older pen, but this pen just, don't know, it's an obvious imitation of the Remarkable pen, the Remarkable Marker Plus. I mean, I could literally juggle those up and you'd be hard pressed to know which one was which. But there is a telltale sign of which one's which, is that one of them has the word Remarkable on it. There we are, okay. Now the Bigme has the same flat side to attach to the magnet. It's got the same looking eraser, which pushes in slightly, but the Bigme is much less satisfying. It's much less well placed to the Remarkable. But also the Bigme, they also have a little indent, which is the bit where on the Remarkable marker they've written Remarkable, but the Bigme just have the indent and nothing written in there. That's a bit laughable, isn't it? Like, just decided to, oh, that must be an important little indent there. It's a very similar design. And it's just like things like you look at the end of the pen and you can just see they've gone for a similar design, but they just haven't pulled it off quite as well. The Remarkable one tapers almost at the very end. Yeah, it's just not as good. Yeah, the pen, it's an improvement, but this just isn't it. It's the whole thing just isn't it. Tested out the handwriting recognition earlier. Let's try and write a little bit neater. And then you go OCR, recognize the text. Yeah, the second time I did get it better. There we are. So a little bit of neatness and you'll be okay. What I did find out, I thought this was quite funny. So it was, as I was writing this bit here, and I found that, they have also added the same thing that Boox has. You've seen me do it a few times, which is scribble erase. But this is when I realized that it was very wobbly in that corner. Very wobbly right in that corner, look. But as I was writing with my italic handwriting, I found that it sees my italic writing sometimes as being the gesture for erase. So I'll see if I can emulate that now by showing you how to spell aluminium. And of course you know how to spell aluminium. So the way we spell aluminium, I know it's aluminum if you're across the pond, right? But is you spell it the same anyway. You go A-L and then you squiggle the thing and you put 2 dots on. Okay, you did it that time. That's how you spell aluminium. I'll try one more time. But sometimes when I did a few of these, it was picking up all the U's and M's and I's and things. It was picking up as being an erase, and I can't get it to imitate the thing as well. But it is like, it's not perfectly calibrated that effect of doing the scribble erase. One thing I've also found is that OneNote works, but that Microsoft Word is not compatible. So I thought, well, this is the type of device that you'd want to use for that type of workflow. And they are bringing it with a keyboard case. But if you wanted to use Microsoft Word, that's going to be a deal breaker for some of you. Also found that on the first stroke, there is a significant delay. Now, there's a delay on a lot of devices because what they do is they actually turn the digitizer off to give you a little bit of battery saving. They turn the digitizer off and it's not sampling therefore, so it saves battery slightly. But on the first stroke of this, it's a much longer delay than on other devices, which has surprised me as well. And the colors often within different apps, especially if I go into the Google Drive app, they often look really quite bad. And I don't know if it's going to do this. It's loaded up quite nicely there actually. Before it was loading onto a black screen always. Let's do that again. Hasn't done that this time either. But anyway, I was getting like a fully black screen when it loaded into this. And then where there was some color, there was a significant rainbowing effect. So I'll try and point that out if I see that as we go around the device today. In large areas of color, it not being very consistent in showing the one color, like truly. It's not ghosting that I was seeing, but it's sort of inconsistent displays of color. Yeah, now notes is not in recents, or it hasn't been for me. So, okay, so let's go back into my notes. I'm in my note, then I'm gonna go into my home again, and then I'm gonna go recents, because I wanna go back into that note. Notes is not in here. So one of the main uses that you're gonna use an e-ink tablet for is you're gonna be making notes, and then you're gonna wanna come out of those notes and read, or come out of those notes and find something out on the internet and go back into those notes and add to those notes. So it should be as seamless as possible to go back to the note that you had open. And it isn't. It's got to be home, notes, and then click the note you want to get back to that same place that you were making notes. And I find that to be a bit surprising, really. I think that's for a note-taking tablet, an AI note, to take you 3 presses to get back to a note is not great. Here's what I was practicing with the aluminium. Yes, it did it. It did it as a scribble erase. There we are. So that's the thing there. And I also remembered that the gestures were at the bottom. So I turn the gestures back on now, and the gesture is home in the middle. No, it's back in the middle, sorry. It's home on the left, and then it's full screen refresh on the right. And that's absolutely fine. But on Bigme, you've got home at the top. You've got recents there, which you're used to using the little triangle, square and circle at the bottom of an Android device. So I don't know why they haven't just gone with that, to be honest. And I quite like that Boox have the e-ink center down there all the time, if you want it to be that way. But the e-ink center is up here. So one thing, let me just go back to my notes, it'll take me a little while. One thing that I think about Bigme is that some of the frustrations that I've been having are probably because I'm back to that learning curve. I'm back nearer the start of the learning curve than I was the last time I daily drove a Bigme. So it'd be interesting when I do daily drive this, how much I do enjoy it as well. Now, just a point though, what will frustrate me is that the handwriting is not lovely. The handwriting, I find no way that I can make my handwriting look really, really nice on this device. And that is a bit of a deal breaker really, because if you've used a Supernote or a Remarkable, handwriting is a pleasure. And that's something that I'm just not going to be able to do here, because although it's nice and accurate, it's not rendering my handwriting to be really the way that I want it. And that wobble is just meaning that all the strokes, just not what my handwriting should look like. They can improve on this massively with the technology they've put in here. They have got great pen technology in here, but you can just see there the accuracy. See? So I'll be turning that scribble erase off until that's better. The landscape, I found that the landscape did work, right? So I was testing this out and I was like, well, the landscape, that is definitely screen rotation on, isn't it? But it wasn't rotating. I was like, okay, was that off then? Let's test it out again. No, okay, so what's going on there? And I really got a bit frustrated because it's got a thicker bezel on one side, surely so that you can hold it like so. But yeah, I wasn't able to get it to rotate. And the rotation does work, but you've got to go into the settings and you've got to scroll down to rotation. Oh, it's on. Okay, so let's go back then. Rotation. Aha, now it's worked. So now, okay, it's the first time Oh, so note taking can't happen in landscape then. Unfinished software there, I think, I'm afraid. So it has to be on in the settings and in that drop-down menu, and every other device you've ever seen, it's just one switch there. You don't need two switches, do you? You just need one switch, which is just there, and that's where it should be, and everyone's happy with it and they know where they are. All things they're just not as well implemented as you can see there. And I think this is an interesting one because I think it seems to have gone backwards in some ways from the Ink Note X, which I actually enjoyed because obviously called out my pronunciation of aluminium. And is that offline text recognition? I don't think so. I think it's online. Turn the Wi-Fi off, text recognize. No, it's off. Yeah, it is offline. So they've downloaded the text recognition pack. How accurate is it? What we've just done there? Not great. Seems house. Okay. I admit my handwriting there isn't very accurate. It's going to say worse, especially as they've called it AI text recognition. And yeah, it's on device, but any AI worth its salt could recognize that a sentence, this seems house, is not very likely.